Gutu. Thank you for that. My name is Steve Gutu. I serve as the regional coordinator for MCLD in East Africa. And to start us off, we will start with the East Africa Community Anthem that's going to be played by my colleague Joanna, who is also my co-moderator for today. Over to you, Joanna.
Thank you, Steve. I'm really excited to be here today, and I call for your attention. You may stand up if you're in position to stand up, and if you're not, I will request you to please raise your right hand and raise it straight so that we can have the East African anthem. Steve, please give me the right to share.
Okay, Sarah, could you help with that, please? Thank you.
Allow me to share, please.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tukitoka linamoni, tujenge juhudi kwa bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike umoja wetu.
Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for that that session. That is our East Africa Community Anthem. But for those who may not be familiar with the East Africa structure, East Africa is comprised of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, Tanzania, and places where MCLD have presence, and you get to hear a lot of the work that we are doing in these countries include, of course, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and we also have a lot of interest that is coming out of Tanzania and other parts that are continuing to express interest to be part of the movement. But having said that, I just want to give a quick opening remarks and to say that you are very welcome to the East Africa MCLD 10th celebrations. As you know, this is a very significant month and year for MCLD as we mark our 10th anniversary. And over the past weeks, we've had a series of regional celebrations. Yesterday, we joined our colleagues from the LAC region. A few days before that, we were in West Africa, joining our colleagues there to celebrate this milestone. And we are really happy to invite you to the East Africa version today. And with us, we have a lot of exciting stuff lined up for us. We have speakers joined by our founder, Dr. John Kunrod. We also have our keynote speaker, Professor Kivuta Kibwana, who's been a great friend of MCLD. He's the immediate former governor of Makueni County here in Kenya, and he'll be sharing some insights about our collaborations and how we can better strengthen our work. And of course, from that, we'll get to hear presentations from our national associations, about 5 of them, of what they've been up to over the past couple of years and what we hope to achieve in the next decade as a region. And then after that, we will move to have a Q&A, or basically a panel discussion where we will be responding to questions that you may have and ideas that you may have on how we can strengthen our work in the region. And of course, we'll also have special remarks from our Global Secretary, and we are honored to have you with us here today, Ms. Gunjan Vedder, alongside the Professor George Outa, who's the board chairperson of MCLD here in Kenya. We'll also have a session on the way forward where we'll be envisioning where we want to be in the next decade as a region. And we'll call for your participation and openness and share your ideas to see how we can move forward together. And of course, from that point, we will close out with some remarks from one of our members from East Africa, our member CBO from East Africa. I think with that, it's my honor and privilege to welcome Dr. John Kunrod, who I know is not new to many of us, is the founder of the Movement for Community-Led Development, to deliver his keynote remarks. And then John will subsequently invite His Excellency Professor Kivuta Kibwana, the immediate former governor of Makueni and a champion for localization. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Steve. Your Excellency, dear friends, I am delighted to join your gathering today to celebrate the 10th anniversary of MCLD and explore some thoughts on our future. I'm particularly pleased to be with my colleagues in East Africa, where so many dynamic community leaders have stepped forward to fulfill the promise of MCLD to be a platform for collective voice and collective action. MCLD began 10 years ago at the UN as an advocacy initiative. A group of 18 INGOs truly believed in CLD, yet were frustrated that there was almost no funding for it. These organizations knew that community-led development was more effective, more sustainable, and more morally consistent with respecting human dignity. Yet nobody even used the phrase community-led development in a global aid context. Top-down was the name of the game, and it would require a tremendous transformation in budgets, policies, and behavior to have it be any different. Meanwhile, thousands of grassroots, largely unfunded associations were taking development into their own hands. Youth groups, women's groups, groups defending the human rights of people with disabilities were springing up by the thousands. Entire countries, from Brazil to Indonesia to Kenya, were committing to devolving a serious share of national budgets and decision-making power to local governments. and mandating citizen participation. In 2012, as we were laying the groundwork for MCLD, we learned about Kenya's new devolutionary constitution coming into force after decades of advocacy by many Kenyan citizens, including His Excellency Professor Kibwana, who we'll hear from in just a moment. And then in 2014, the Africa Union adopted the Africa Charter on the Values of Decentralization, Local Governments, and Local Development. It came into force in 2019, the same year that MCLD launched in Kenya. East Africa is a region that is home to so many vibrant civil society organizations, so many led by women and youth. It has a growing private sector with great hopes for regional progress across the East Africa community. You'll hear in today's session the amazing achievements of the existing and emerging MCLD national associations across East Africa in their collective action to improve people's lives and really to facilitate people in improving their own lives. All these strengths in what we call the majority world are now more important than ever, as my part of the world, the minority world, seems to be abandoning any sense of solidarity and partnership. A number of African scholars have bemoaned the neo-colonial aspects of official development assistance, pointing out that it encourages corruption and dependency, and emphasizing that remittances to Africa by the African diaspora far outstrip ODA. MCLD has worked hard to transform how ODA works, but now much of that system has been slashed. We are facing a post-ODA world with an immediate crisis of great human cost. For more than a year, under the brilliant facilitation of our Global Secretary, Gunjan Veda, our amazing regional and national coordinators, and the insights of more than 1,000 community leaders, MCLD has co-created and adopted a new strategic framework. Our mantra, in the face of a crumbling top-down aid paradigm, the future is community-led. Our membership has identified 4 key pillars for the next 5 years to guide us in making community-led future a reality. The first is practice, strengthening the practice of CLD in partnership with strong, accountable local governance. That's the subject at the School for Community-Led Development that you'll hear about today. Policies at global, regional, and national and subnational levels to address power inequities. This issue of policy transformation is the special focus of today's session. Solidarity, create greater awareness of our interconnectedness and inclusivity. We in the minority world are not giving up on our government's responsibilities in the world community, and we will help reimagine and push for aid that puts communities truly in the driver's seat. Self-reliance. This is a big one. Ensuring that our national associations are able to mobilize the resources and resilience they need to thrive and achieve their chosen priorities. Despite the current challenges, we in MCLD have profound faith in human dignity, in the equal rights of every human person to have a voice in the decisions that affect their lives and our planet, and in the power of people to improve the lives of themselves and their neighbors. Thank you for listening to me, and I pass it back to Steve.
Thank you so much, John, for those profound words. And you set a very important foundation for us for today's session. And with that, I'm going to now, and thank you for reiterating that the future is indeed CLD. So with that, I'm going to invite Professor Kivuta Kibwana. And Prof, it's really a pleasure to have you here. I know you and I spoke on Saturday, and when I mentioned to you that we have this event coming up and I requested that you join us, you didn't hesitate. And despite being a short notice, you're here with us. So thank you very much, and over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Steve. And let me begin by, let me just get my machine to make my face visible. Okay. Yes, I think that's better. So I really sent warm greetings to, all the community champions present on this space, MCLD leadership, civil society partners, development partners, maybe some government officials are around. I really appreciate that all of us are celebrating together, and I thank you very much, as Steve has said, to have been asked to be in this space and to reflect and celebrate this very, very important milestone together. I want to really pay a special tribute to, John Conrad for his visionary leadership in terms of laying the foundation for this movement 2015. And he has described how, from the UN level, they were able to come together and say there is this more or less virgin space that is required to be filled so that development happens to where the people are, and it doesn't happen to the capitals or to, those high places. There's one very famous playwright in Tanzania called Ibrahim Hussein, and in one of his plays, Kinjekitile, there is a character there, Kinjekitile, who gave birth to an idea. And then as time went on, the idea became bigger than Kinjekitile. And I think this idea, John, that you have started, it has become bigger than you. And that is why it is being embraced by so many people in the world. And I remember when we met at the launch of CLD in Kenya, I think it was January 30th, 2019. We had, of course, started some journey because somehow intuitively, we believe that we really need to work with people at the villages, at the very low end, of our community, because we thought that's where the people are, that's where the problems are, and we need to explain that they will be responsible actually for their own development, and we are facilitators. And I remember how, we spoke with deep conviction about the need to put communities at the center and front of development and to make devolution work. And that dream for, truly inclusive development from your work, from the work of others, but through this MCLD has become a reality around the world. So I think when we also celebrate you, this is in order, in my view, because you have really done the world proud in this particular area. Because if in 10 years a movement has become from a bold idea, from an initial idea, it is now a global movement present in 25 countries and more, and engaging more than 2,000 organizations, and many people here are represented who in their countries are in charge or are working with several organizations. So that's really, in my view, a very big thing. And I remember when we launched MCLD in Makueni, in Kenya rather, in 2019, as you indicated, I gave a keynote speech, and I was very happy to do so. And we got in an MOU with you in 2021 And one of the most significant things that was born from that MOU was the creation of the Kenya School for Devolution and Community-Led Development. And of course, strengthening public participation, which we had begun, but in county governance structures. And actually, up to date, this school has attracted people coming to Makueni, particularly under Dr. Zipporah Wambua, to learn how to do community-led development. And that's a big thing. And because of that earlier work we did together, you inspired us so that Makueni became, if I can say, a maker for people coming to see how community-led development happens, because we had even worked with the World Bank in public participation itself, like developing the model for public participation, which World Bank was able to popularize. We had worked again with World Bank to devise participatory budgeting. And actually, this budgeting went to from the village level, and in a county where you have about 3,500 villages, and they begin to say that these are the problems they have. This is what they want done. This is how they want their money done. And they want even to be responsible for superintending over their projects, so that anybody who does anything in their locality, the beneficiaries must okay. If the beneficiaries don't, then there will be no payment. And that really empowered people, as John has said, because they felt that development is not being done for them. They are very part and parcel of that development. Again, we were able to, following our discussions, following the school that helped us to found, we were able to also pilot climate justice, so that we eventually were able to, again, working with the World Bank and others, the Kenya government, we were able to get climate justice happening at the very local levels, so that there are local committees, they identify what are the issues. And there was a big process. Until today, that process now has been translated into FLOCA, so that it is something that is in Kenya, the entire Kenya. So I gave these examples to demonstrate that actually there is innovation which can happen at the grassroots level, at this so-called lower level, and it is adopted by a country, and it is adopted even at a global level. And I think that's the power of what John is doing, and what all the colleagues who are here are doing. And so we really are proud when what we begin together it becomes a reference point. People come to Makueni, even the donors at some point, they used to really help us a lot, until at the College of Governors, at some point we were told that now somebody else should be helped, and we didn't have a problem. But it is because when you really have a structure where people begin to do their development and everybody sees it works, then there is a lot of support in many aspects. And I think from even my conversation with John, what became clear is CLD is not just a method, it is actually a mindset. And that's why when that mindset comes to a community, and the community embraces it, it really now begins to inspire them and to tell them that they are also doers, and there is dignity, there is trust, local knowledge is utilized, and then there is long-term sustainability. And I think that's the difference, because a lot of the bottom, I don't even know whether it is top bottom, because it doesn't get to the bottom, it dissipates somewhere. But that kind of development does not really produce sustainability. And I think we learned that development is most effective when it is done with communities, not for them. And so I think I really need to commend what you're doing in terms of this movement for community-led development, because even it is giving strength to the SDGs. Because again, if it's SDGs of, there should be no hunger and there should be good health and all that, there should be water and so on, they can only become real if they are actualized at the very grassroots. And that's a big thing. And I can imagine that's why from the UN level, you said, let's go back and let's reimagine how development can really be done, so that communities say even the development partners make sense, because it's not just giving money to governments and the governments somehow it disappears, somewhere. And this idea of shifting development financing to local actors, because by the time my tenure ended, already like about 30% of our development budget was being allocated to CLD, because we realized when you do that, you have more fruit. And I talked about climate justice, also how we tried to get that done at the very, very local level. And there are those committees in 30 wards. And that helped a lot. And we have dedicated funds for like climate justice. And we thought that in the things that you do, even in terms of the administration of the projects that we talked about, also about the young people who are very much involved, we make sure that there is a budget so that those things can be done in a real sense. So I think for the next decade, because now after 10 years, 10 very fruitful years, now it is the next 10 years. And I think, like this devolution, putting people at the center, particularly on the African continent and elsewhere, this is really something to be strengthened. Of course, there is the Africa, charter, 2014 charter, which came into effect 2019. But it's important that this devolution that is now doing government at lower levels, that's very, very important. And funding and trusting grassroots leadership, because that is the leadership that will drive what's happening at the grassroots, and it has to be respected, and it has to be leadership from the people themselves, and to be facilitated, and even their own fundraising, as John said. And so again, also foster mutual accountability between the states and citizens, because as I said earlier, when we had a project committee from the grassroots, you couldn't be paid if they are not satisfied. They had to sign that they are satisfied, so there's no ghost project, and they have been superintending over that. And I think critically, and this is where the 10 years, I think, an emphasis is needed, because it's work which has begun before, so that governments, donors, or development partners, international partners, must act with courage to institutionalize CLD approaches. So that in policy, like what John said, that part of what will be discussed is the policy. This is really done so that even development partners will say, before we accept to ink a particular program, we want to see what is the budget here and what is the plan here and how is it being actualized at these grassroots actors. Because I think if in the policies that happen, so that a government can't get away with just the money being spent, above, I think that will really give impetus to this very beneficial idea. And so this movement, John, our senior, must remain steadfast in championing the bottom-up approach. Let this principle, guide the structures you have been developing, the actions. It's what sets you apart from the traditional INGOs, international NGOs, and you empower your members, the national associations which will speak in this forum to set their own priorities. You offer support where necessary, and therefore get MCLD enjoying long-term sustainability. And when we know that ultimately it is the citizens, it is the grassroots people who needs to do the work. And so personally, I remain deeply committed to the ideals of MCLD. I think Kenya and Makueni in particular has proved that people-centered governance works. And I think this is for all the countries represented here. I think it does, it works. And so let's enter the next decade with even greater resolve to ensure that no one is left behind and that every community is empowered to lead its own development journey, so that together, let us build a future where communities are not passive recipients, but active co-creators of progress. And I know this is possible because in 10 years, I witnessed it happening. And therefore, congratulations, kudos, John, and all the colleagues and this movement, so that there is the next decade of impact and a lot of success. Steve, thank you for asking me to come over to be in this space, and thank you for the conversation that we have had with you, so that we can reach this. And so, John, thank you and thank you and thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Prof, for those profound words and for reminding us that we must continue, acting with courage to ensure that CLD is institutionalized by donors, by development partners, and governments in general. And also thank you for just availing yourself to be a resource for us whenever we need insights to navigate some of these challenges. I think with that, and for helping us set a stage for this exciting session, where we'll now hear from our national associations. I mentioned we have Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi that forms part of our MCLD East Africa community. We will hear a little bit from Kenya, and particularly from Makueni. So Kenya, one of our primary focus has been to strengthen devolution. So we are working with a number of county governments, including Makueni, Taita Taveta, Kisumu, Vihiga, and many other counties in the country to ensure that devolution works for the people. And how we do this is we work with these counties to develop policies, public participation policies, and now we have the school for CLD that is also becoming very instrumental in strengthening the practice and policy around CLD. And so to just share more about this, allow me to invite Dr. Zipporah Wambua, who is the Director of Devolution from Makueni County, and she will give some brief remarks, and our Prof has shared quite a bit about what we're doing there. So Zippy, if you could do that, we'll really appreciate it. Over to you, Zippy.
Thank you very much, Steve, and everybody in the meeting. I've seen John Conrad. We have just heard a very powerful speech from His Excellency, the former Governor Makueni County. And therefore, I will be more brief because I'm speaking from the field about the story of Makueni and in order of the celebrations around the 10 years of the movement for community-led development. As a county, the professor has shared how we were able to join the movement for community-led. Our interpretation has been that the devolution and the provisions of devolution by the Constitution of Kenya. It's really about participatory development and community-led development. And therefore, initially, we have been keen, and the professor, God did help him to build strong foundations of what he has just spoken about. And therefore, here I'm just speaking as a testimony of the work that has happened, having been technically involved over the processes since Makueni County joined the movement in 2019. The county has demonstrated delocalization of funds to the wards as a result of shifting not just the power, but also the monies to the people, where all the 30 wards are able to negotiate, deliberate about funds that are coming from the national government or on source revenue and even donors, and be able to specify priorities and projects and programs that are able to be run at the lowest level, at the ward level. This has been made possible by unique structures, or what we call the structures of public participation, that are live and strong year after year. Of late, the best practice of the project management committees here in Kenya, guidelines that were developed earlier, have now been blown into the national outlook of what we call community-led project management guidelines, and therefore impacting on the entire nation. All county programs for the 47 counties in Kenya to adhere to the guidelines of project management committees, a perspective that has brought about stronger social accountability, has brought about stronger transparency of county governments in terms of public resources and the resource utilization. A key aspect that we have birthed together with the former governor, His Excellency Kivutha Kibwana, and John Conrad, and now the current governor, has been the School for Devolution and Community-Led Development, and Steve was just talking about it. The school is aimed at putting across, or rather the documentations around the best practices in community-led development in this part of the world, not just Kenya, East Africa, and also Africa, in the global south, to just being able to demonstrate if these things and products, knowledge products, are working in Makueni, how can other counties benefit from the programs. And therefore, we established the school, the Kenya School for Devolution. It is now a registered entity and therefore recognized as the national school or an institution for devolution and community-led development. It has been able to host numerous entities in terms of governments, international bodies, and countries that are going through the devolution agenda. They're able to come and study here and understand what devolution is. The curriculum has 16 different units that are demonstrating different capacities that are specifically made for devolution, not just top-down, but bottom-up approaches of development. And therefore, as we celebrate these 10 years, this school stands out, not just as a capacity entity, but also as a testimony that devolution is possible, and it is enabled by the community-led development models and theories that this particular part of the world has been able to anchor their programming into, and it is working. Going forward, as we look forward for the next 10 years, is to just ensure the proper establishment of the institution to broadly be able to reach out to as many. The school has had the first cohort, and it's seeking now to enroll the second cohort, but we are seeking We're looking for a methodology upon which the nations that are coming to Kenya to study through the school, the counties that are coming to this county to study through the school are able to find the space, find the opportunity, and find the experts. We have had experts, including John Conrad, being a lead a speaker in most of the units, Gujan and Steve, among others. Volunteers across the ecosystem of community-led development. And this has really been a big story to us as a county, been an icon, transforming what we do and how we do it in accordance to the principles of community-led development. And therefore, Steve, I just wanted to give up, to give and shed light around what is happening in this part of the world, that this part of the world has been able to demonstrate what devolution is, and the injection through the community-led development principles and theory of change, we have been able to transform what we call devolved service delivery. And a school is here as a beacon to facilitate the capacity development and mentorship of both the staff here, the civil society communities, as well as externally other counties and nations that are moving towards this decentralization and devolution as the model. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zippy, for sharing with us those insights. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted senior government officials from Somali and a World Bank funded program who just went to learn about devolution there, and specifically to learn about the school and how it's changing how the county, Makueni and other counties are changing how they're doing things when it comes to CLD. So thank you for that. So with that, we'll shift gears now to Ethiopia. And Ethiopia will be sharing about how they're championing participatory budget making process. They have an exciting study that just concluded and has just did a report with very insightful findings that they'll be sharing with us here today. And so I'm handing it over now to my colleague, Abate Ahailu, who's the coordinator for MCLD in Ethiopia. Over to you, Abate.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you all. I'm very much happy to be here in marking this greater anniversary of MCLD, because it has got lots of impacts to my country and to particularly for those communities at grassroots level. So I'm really very much fond of to be here to share our experience and what we do have. So to begin with, here, the MCLD in Ethiopia started in 2021. So since then, we've been joined by 33 CSOs, okay, both local as well as international NGOs. So in which CCRD, the Consortium for Christian Relief Development Association, is a membership association, is the host. So the Hunger Project Ethiopia is the chair. So with this, we have come across with many more undertakings. To mention a few of them, we have organized, we started with conducting a baseline survey, that is to see the very gaps, what has been there at national level as well as at regional level, to identify particularly on fiscal decentralization. So following that, we went on through establishing ad hoc good governance committees at grassroots levels in one of our project area, that is Right to Grow project. So we try to align, okay, our undertakings with that particular project, in which that particular project, Right to Grow, has come across with almost many years, 3 to 4 years. So we try to see or adopt key tools that can possibly allow us to ensure our MCLD activity to be sustained and also to be effective enough. So with that, those ad hoc good governance committees were drawn from each waradas, 5 waradas in rural areas. So those committees I mean, those 5 waradas come across with suggesting 7 people. Okay, so we provided them with capacity building training on budget monitoring and tracking, community voice actions. So these are all enough just to let this community to be capacitated enough to see gaps and to suggest what is going on in their localities. So with this, these committees, okay, those drawn from CBOs, CSOs, government institutions, youth associations. So these 7 individuals come across with C or to make a certain kind of follow-up, okay, based on the education or the training that they were provided from us. So they come across to identify what has been the gaps there in the education. What is the limitation there to ensure quality of education? Again, here in the health aspect, for example, they come across to see the gaps. Okay, what is the very problem to provide quality health service, agriculture, blah, blah. So with this, these committees were really brought us very tangible and very inspiring findings. And then together with them, we come across to see those gaps and sit together with their local leaders, see to share their views, their ideas, and to find out solutions. So if those are said to be the gaps, so how can we possibly improve those gaps? So those government leaders really showed commitment following, I mean, with the recommendations that's obtained from those committees drawn from those waradas. So with this, we start to see many more improvements, like, for example, here, as I mentioned earlier, in education aspects, there were many more gaps in allocating budgets, as well as to see things that can possibly be easily improved but were neglected. So we start to see tangible changes, okay? And the health aspect, we do see improvements in service delivery, blah, blah. Not only that, our MCLG members in Ethiopia also were come across, I mean, we sit together to see how to ensure our communities are taking the lead, okay, in to exercise their rights, okay, in becoming voice for their community. So with this, our MCLD members shared, okay, their experience. So we have come across with many more workshops and dialogues, okay, and to see experiences and to learn each other's. So with all of this, we have finally come across with developing policy brief documents capturing lessons and policy recommendations. So we distributed this very policy brief to the parliamentarians, to the government ministry offices, and to the grassroots level, to Warada level leaders, and to CSOs as well. So these are some of the key undertakings where we have had since the establishment of the MCLD Ethiopia. So with this, we are now just also going to celebrate this 10 years anniversary together with our communities at grassroots levels. So we will be also joined by our MCLD steering committee. So for sure, by tomorrow, we will have many more also celebrations together with our committees. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you very much, Abate, for sharing with us the great work that you're doing over there in Ethiopia. And the report that Abate has talked about, we will be sure to also publish it on our website very soon, because I believe that there are a lot of insights that we can learn from that, irrespective of where we are. Now we shift gears to Uganda, the land of banana. And there in Uganda, Joanna and the MCLD team there has been doing a fantastic work in terms of advocating for policies around inclusive food and nutrition, and nutrition, you know, to ensure that they are really centered on CLD principles. And I'll hand it over to Joanna to share with us much more on that. Over to you, Joanna.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Before I go on, I would like to mention that I am really excited to be here, and I'm really happy about all those who have joined us. It's a lot of commitment, and I really appreciate you. I would like to share an experience with you very quickly. In 2023 December, we brought together 9 member CBOs because we are an association that has members. And these CBOs, we equipped them with appropriate materials to visit 10 districts. In Uganda currently, we have 146 districts, and we selected 10 for the CBOs to visit. And they were simply going into the communities to interact. They were going in to listen, to capture community thoughts, community ideas, the challenges, the experiences, the joys, all that with specificity on nutrition and food security issues. But we also put into perspective the indigenous practices and the modern practices. So we all together captured around 500 and more voices of the communities. And when you listen to these voices, or when you read what we captured from the communities, this information they give, it really challenges much, if not everything, of what one thinks or knows or even understands when it comes to community development in practice, because it is hearing from the people, their views, their perspectives, looking at what they used to do before and what they are doing now, the impact and all that much. And these voices, we compressed them into a report that we have shared with some of our development partners at national level, and also some government agencies and departments, purposely to influence programming, to support policy review and information. And with that, we have also worked closely with other national, local, and international partners. Some of our partners, particularly the Hunger Project and the World Vision, we do realize, that they have significantly adopted a multi-stakeholder approach to development, whereby we realize that they are bringing CBOs, the community-based organizations, into partnership in relation to programming. And we really appreciate that, because we see many of our CBO, not many, but we see that a number of our CBOs are now working with the Hunger Project, with World Vision, with Center for Economic Governance and Accountability. And this is a step where we realize that there is acknowledgement that community-based organizations are relevant in the spaces, in the practice of development. And for us in Uganda, we are envisioning to scale up community-led development in practice. We would like to see CLD research taken on intensely, documentation and knowledge sharing, as well as management. We also would like to collaborate intensely with like-minded organizations and institutions, as well as agencies. And we also want to see ourselves uplifting CBOs, because we believe and we know that they are very cost effective, and most importantly, they are high impact achievers. That is what we have to do in our national association, and we collectively do create all these pieces of work, and we involve the community-based organizations in the creation of the planning, the programming, in that when we are strategizing, everybody is involved and we move together. Thank you very much for listening to me. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for sharing those insights on the impact of the work that you do over there with us. We so much appreciate that. Um, Now we shift gears to Rwanda, and in Rwanda, our colleagues Teddy and Eric, who are uh, formalizing MCLD there right now, are also doing fantastic work in terms of mobilizing civil society organizations, and they're collaborating with governments to ensure that. I said Rwanda. Rwanda is actually Noel, who's
It's
actually
Noel.
Noel, who's actually leading our efforts there, working closely with the civil society organizations there to ensure that the government of Rwanda and local government there integrate CLD in terms of how they do their programs and policies. And I'll hand it over to Noel to share more with us. Over to you, Noel.
Thank you, Mr. Tsi, for giving me the floor. Firstly, I'd like to extend my special thanks to Mr. John, the founder of the MCLD, and I can call him the chief champion of the CLD across the world. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. John, for your invaluable contribution. An verbal contribution to the effective development across the world. So then for Rwanda, we joined MCLD since 2023. And during this period, working with MCLD, I have been trying to supporting and promoting this community-led development in Rwanda. Specifically, I've been calling out different advocacy initiatives so that the legal and policy framework in Rwanda recognize the CLD, community-led development approaches in design and implementation of those different policies and laws. Specifically, I've been working on impact of the environment and the climate change to the
I think you're frozen,
be
Noel.
included in decision making and implementation of different programs aiming at improving. We have also we have been also working on the effectiveness of the legal and policy framework to eradicate domestic violence in Rwanda, and the different recommendations that have been submitted to the government of Rwanda, and those recommendations were positive considered, and we are still working for different policies so that MCLD become a practice, become a culture in Rwandan governance structures. So we have also implemented different projects using MCLD strategies, values, and then basing on the MCLD goals. One of them was the improvement of living conditions of teen mothers in two districts in Rwanda, which are Gasabo district and the Gisagara district. Gasabo district of Kigali city and Gisagara district of the Gisagara district in the southern province of Rwanda. So we are already organizing civil society organizations so that they become community-led, development-oriented, and bring our strength so that we influence government decisions, so that all structures or governance structures in Rwanda be mainstreamed with CLD or community-led development. So this is really a very exciting day for us because of celebrating MCLD 10 years anniversary together with you. Thank you very much. We are together.
Thank you very much, Noel, for the
Thank
important
you.
work that you're doing there, especially to mainstream gender issues and advancing policies that tackle cases of GBV, because we want a safer world for women and girls. So thank you very much for that. I will transition now to Burundi, and Burundi is where I mentioned we have Teddy and Eric, of course, with their colleagues there who are doing fantastic work in terms of mobilizing CSOs to entrench CLD practices there. Burundi also just started not too long ago. I think they're just about to celebrate 1 year of course, it's still under formation, but 1 year of being part of the movement. But they've been able to just achieve so much. And so I will pass it over to Teddy to share more with us. Over to you, Teddy.
Ok, bonjour à tout le monde. Je vais parler en français. Ok, Excellences, chers collègues, membres du MCLD, partenaires de la transformation locale. C'est un privilège de prendre la parole aujourd'hui pour célébrer les 10 ans d'engagement du MCLD. En fait, au Burundi, le MCLD est en gestation, mais profondément engagé à mobiliser les organisations locales de la société civile pour ancrer les principes CLD dans notre contexte local. Notre histoire commence il y a à peine 7 mois, mais nos racines puisent déjà dans une vision commune, enracinée dans les réalités burundaises. Ok, chez nous, pourquoi on a pensé à mobiliser et à rejoindre le mouvement? Parce que le Burundi est riche en organisations actives sur le terrain. Pourtant, l'absence de coordination, les duplications d'efforts, les compétitions destructrices et la faible reconnaissance institutionnelle ont entravé leur impact. Nous avons constaté aussi qu'il y a un fort besoin d'un réseau, et cela a révélé une demande forte d'un espace de concertation, de plaidoyer et de co-apprentissage. Nous partons toujours d'un constat simple que le développement local ne peut se faire pour les communautés sans se faire avec elles. Nos premiers pas au Burundi, comme MCLD en formation, posent sur les fondations, comme en octobre 2024, on a commencé notre assemblée constitutive et en novembre, on a élaboré notre charte pour qu'on aille ensemble, fondée sur les valeurs du MCLD, bien sûr, l'inclusion, dignité humaine, égalité, redevabilité, autres. Ensuite, nous avons mis en place un cadre de confiance entre les leaders de la société civile à travers des réunions mensuelles en ligne. On discute pour s'approprier des principes CLD et un engagement à la transparence et à l'apprentissage partagé. Nous avons une image, vous savez, là, la bétonnière. La bétonnière, on a mis la patience là-dedans, dans le dialogue, l'écoute. Et cela, nous voyons un bon résultat, la solidification de la base. Mais on a essayé dans le séjour d'activisme 2024 de travailler ensemble en tant qu'organisation MCLD en formation et on a réussi à participer dans les forums organisés par le gouvernement Et notre réseau est subdivisé en 6 pôles thématiques. Le GEC, Gender Equity Social Inclusion, la résilience climatique, autonomisation économique pour les jeunes, les femmes et pour les ménages, la sécurité alimentaire, et la réponse d'urgence et le plaidoyer. Cela nous permet vraiment d'identifier des leviers d'action CLD sectoriels et de commencer à ancrer la culture de collaboration au lieu de la compétition. Et cela se passe sur tout l'étendue de notre pays. Nous avons des défis, nous avons considéré des défis comme la faible autonomie financière de nos organisations membres, le risque de mauvaise gouvernance, la multiplication des réseaux sans valeur ajoutée, la méfiance institutionnelle. Mais avec notre réseau MCLD Information Burundi, nous essayons de transformer ces défis en opportunités, en renforçant vraiment notre réseau pour qu'il soit reconnu légalement. Aussi, renforcer les capacités de plaidoyer collectif, ainsi faciliter le partage de ressources et d'opportunités de financement. Et nous croyons que notre réseau MCLD Information sera Burundi Community Led Development comme un outil de plaidoyer, de coordination et de transformation communautaire. Le MCLD Information Burundi n'est pas encore un arbre aux fruits mûrs, mais il est une semence vivante, plantée sur une terre fertile de besoins et de volonté locale. Nous appelons les autres chapitres nationaux, la coordination sous-régionale, à nous soutenir, nous inspirer et apprendre aussi de nos approches locales. Ensemble, mobilisons nos organisations pour qu'elles ne soient plus de simples exécutants de projets externes, mais des leaders enracinés dans leur CLD. Joyeux anniversaire de 10 ans à notre famille MCLD et merci pour John et merci pour l'équipe gagnante. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Teddy, for the great work that you are doing there already. And we will always be there to support you. As you know, you can reach out to any national association, be it within East Africa or West Africa. What brings us together our values and principles, and we are always available to share best practices and lessons that we are learning to ensure that Burundi stands. So thank you very much for that. Now, having listened to the great work from the 5 countries, 5 national associations, and the insights that have been shared therein, and the remarks by our keynote speakers, now please allow me to welcome our Global Secretary, Ms. Gunjan Vera, who's a champion of CLD. If you've interacted with her, you know she's extremely passionate about CLD, and she has this infectious passion about CLD. So, Gunjan, over to you to deliver some special remarks for us. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Steve, and a big congratulations to each and every person on this call. I mean, I've been having goosebumps for the last 1 hour just listening to how much we have achieved together. Professor Kibuana started by saying MCLD was just an idea 10 years ago, right? And today it is a force. It is a force of transformation. We have changed things, right? And this has been possible because of everybody who is on this call and so many other community-based organizations, our members, our partners who have been so committed to the power of collective action. It has been possible because we have dared to dream. And we have believed that another world is possible, right? It has been possible because of the commitment, the energy, the endless hours and the work that has been put in by coordinators, by members, by boards, steering committees, partners all across. This journey of 10 years is a testimony to what can happen when we all come together. And so I just want to start by, taking a moment for each one of us to just celebrate our own journey and our own part in making this journey happen. So I invite everybody to just take a second to let it sink in how much we have all done together, right? Because that is what MCLD is about. It is about that connection. It is about that community. It is about that power of collaboration. That is what community-led development is about. When communities come together, the power, potential, and promise that they hold. And that is what we as a movement are about. We are that community, right? When social movements, when CBOs, when international organizations, when local governments all come together. There has been so much talk in the last few months about the changing landscape of official development assistance and the political economy of aid and what the future will look like. And I think after this last hour and 15 minutes, you will all understand why we believe the future looks like MCLD, right? The future looks like MCLD because the future requires this energy, this collective leadership, this collective knowledge that has been demonstrated, right? And so I also really want to take the opportunity to thank Professor Kibwana for your foresight, your vision, and for partnering with MCLD to start that school. That has been a game changer. It has demonstrated the power of people-centered governance, as you said. It has demonstrated again that really the only way to get to a world which centers on human dignity is if we have strong local governments, strong, responsive local governments alongside the civil society that is working with them to strengthen the voice of communities. That is the recipe for a transformed world. That is the recipe that MCLD has been cooking all of these years and that we will continue to cook. I have seen this energy when I visited the school in Makweni. I had the pleasure and honor of working with the county officials in Makweni, in Taita Taveta, and I have seen the energy. I have seen the transformation. I'm looking forward to really being energized by it again when I'm there in October. But for so long, the majority world, Africa in particular, has been considered a victim. And we are not. There is so much of power, so much of knowledge, so much of energy, so much of resources. Africa powers the world, right? And I think Africa is showing us in MCLD, we see every day that power. And that is what the world needs right now. And understanding that this power stems not from competition, which has been the norm. It is not a power that comes from pushing others to get to that seat at the table. It is a power which is built into the principles of Ubuntu. Yesterday, we had the Latin America and Caribbean event, Abya Shala. The principles of togetherness. That is what powers us in the majority world. That is what powers us in the movement. And that is what we have tried over the last 10 years to take in shaping policies at the global level, in ensuring the voices of our members, these voices that call for solidarity, are at different tables, and we will continue to do so. We will continue to do so. We will continue to ensure mutual accountability. We will continue to build on this connection. And we know, and I'm confident that we will do that because of each one of you who is here, because of our members, because of our partners, because of all the CLD champions, many of whom we may not be able to hear from on this call. I know they're sitting in places with no connectivity, and yet who continue to strive for a world where every person has a voice in decisions that shape their life. That world is our future, and community-led development is our future. So thank you so much for everything that you have done and continue to do every single day to make this world a more peaceful, equitable place. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your knowledge, your creativity, and just bringing all of yourself to the movement. Over to you, Steve.
Wow. Thank you so very much, Gunjan, for those inspiring words. And we are encouraged and motivated to continue with the resolve to champion for CLD in whatever space we are in. Thank you again for the inspiring leadership. With that, as I mentioned earlier, I had a co-moderator. Her name is Joanna from Uganda, and I'm going to now pass the baton to her to take us through the remaining session in about 10 minutes. Over to you, Joanna.
Thank you, Steve. I have been smiling all through when Gunjan was speaking. I mean, it was like she was speaking to me, you know. I forgot that there were so many other people in here. I thought she was speaking to me alone. That was really, really very nice. I really appreciate that for me. Thank you, Steve. Let's move forward. We are going into a plenary, and having listened from Kenya, from Uganda, from Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, I would like to suggest that we open up the floor and you share your questions and we see how we can move forward. In the interest of time, we have decided that because we don't have much, we have around 12 minutes, that we do the way forward and the question and answer at the same time. So if you out here, please let us know your thoughts on what we have really talked about. The floor is open for you all. Yes, what do you want to see MCLD be like in the next 10 years? Because now that we have a decade down, we look at the next 10 years, how would you like to see MCLD move forward? Because this is a collective action. MCLD is a network of networks. We are all part of it. Your thoughts are very important. So we need to think, how do we move forward? What would we like to see in the next 10 years? What should we do? What kind of partnerships should we be targeting? Yeah. Yeah. You, please come in.
All right. Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank the Eastern Africa region for the great things you're doing in terms of policy advocacy. Mine is just a comment, and I would say it's really hard for the policies to be implemented. You know, most of the times our governments will commit, they'll develop policies, but for the policies to translate into the action we need is very hard. So I just want to encourage us to continue engaging the district level stakeholders that we have, the different ministries, to ensure that their policies should also incorporate community-led approaches, but also they should be practiced at the local level. So I see a future where our policies will really translate into action, but communities also will be in forefront at the table influencing decisions and policies. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Yewo. And Ivan has raised his hands, but before Ivan, you come in, you know, for me, most of the time when people speak about collectiveness, it makes me feel like there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of potential we can put out there. We just need a key to ignite this, you know? And we here have the capacity to do that for ourselves and for everybody out there. Ivan, please come in.
Thank you so much. My name is Ivan once again. I work with TPO Uganda. It's a local organization in Uganda. I've not been part of the 10 years, but I've been so interestingly listening into the approaches and the outcomes so far realized. And how I wish you can do an outcome harvest and have all this published for others to have a look and learn from there, but also having interest in joining the associations and because we are implementing indirectly, but then when we work together, join hands, it can be so great. In a country like Uganda, where policies are there, a lot of policy parliamentary activities, even in 2 days, a policy can be passed, an act of parliament can be passed. I really think that focus should be directed to accountability, especially to the authorities, to account to the local communities on how we are implementing all these policies that have been developed through community-led approaches, you know, from the parish up to the national level. Ideas can trickle up to parliament, but when it comes to the implementation, there we are struggling. Now, associations like this should be able to support in accountability. How do we support our communities to demand for accountability for what they were supported to come up with, and how are the authorities accounting back for what they promised to implement? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Ivan.
May I say one thing?
Please do, please do. This is Francis.
Thank you, Johanna, and all those who are watching and listening keenly to MCLD 10th year celebration. I am excited equally. I have 5 years in the MCLD out of the 10, and I'm happy, excited, and really eager to continue on and on with the MCLD. It's like what Professor said about the founder, John. Even human beings, as human beings, for us, we take 9 months in our mother's womb and we become a human being and grow until when we passed on. But John alone has now met us. He came up with the idea of MCLD. It has been put in place, and all of us collectively are working towards seeing that MCLD becomes, okay, maybe beyond the dream of John. John, thank you for coming up with this idea. And I'm sure those who have been applying the approaches, after picking it from wherever you got it from, you see a difference in how your community behaves. It transforms the community. And like in Kenya, where they already have a school, I'm sure theirs must be much faster than ours yet. But it is up to you, Johanna, and the rest of the team in Uganda to put more effort to see that we either surpass the others or do it equally, but at the best. Briefly, that is what I want to say. But overall, all of us should collectively and continuously continue to follow up MCLD approaches, spread it across our area of maybe project or programs implementation for the success. I thank everyone who is watching and participating in this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Francis. That was a very nice call you sent out there. Everybody needs to be part of it. We have little time, but from the chats we have Brighton saying that we need to see grassroots CBOs to be inclusive in formulating policies which can suit their needs and address their challenges. And to achieve this, we need collectiveness. Yeah, collectiveness is the word, and it becomes a reality when it is put into practice. Then there's Thomas who says, thank you to all the speakers for your insights. I have noticed that disability inclusion has not been highlighted in the conversation so far. Could you please share what specific plans or strategies are in place to collaborate with disability justice movements? How are persons with disabilities meaningfully involved? This is coming from Thomas Okero. Thomas, I pray you become a member of MCLD. These questions will be fully answered. We answer these questions because we have monthly meetings. And when you participate in, you will have all these answers filled in. And actually your ideas could be very great because we work collectively. What you share with us, what others share with us, we bring together and we pave a way forward. So I encourage you to join us in the next sitting. My colleagues will let you know, or you can keep in touch with me and I will let you know when we are having our next monthly meeting. Yes, my colleague has answered to your question as well. Yes. If you have any extra questions, please put them in the chat so that we can address them. We will address each and every question, and we really appreciate you actually sharing your views. Whichever way it comes in, we appreciate it because we utilize your views and we move and stride forward basing on your views and your opinions as well as your thoughts. So with that, I would like to request my colleague Stephen to come back and guide us on how to go forward. Otherwise, I thank you so much for your participation. I know it was a lot of information and you had to reflect and think through on it. So I thank you so much. I give it back to you, Steve.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for taking us through that session. I see we could maybe listen to Ian. I think he's had his hand up for quite some time,
Oh,
and
did
then
he?
Professor
I'm sorry. I
share
didn't see him.
a few words. I know it happens when you are presenting. Normally, it's difficult to see who's raising their hands and not.
I
So,
didn't see him.
Ian, if you could make it, please, in under a minute, that would be great. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. It is good to hear from you, particularly Steve. It's been a while since we last met and spoke. Happy to see Gunjen, Conrad, and everyone. I think this is very exciting, but one of the way forwards I would suggest is that we have INGOs that are part of MCLD. Can we please put them to task and find out how they are working within their movements in their respective countries? Because that comes as an example for Uganda, where apparently we have World Vision that is apparently the only INGO under MCLD that has tried to support us somehow. If we had more of these INGOs in our respective countries coming in and contributing a hand, I think that would be very good, because that's one of the approaches we are looking at, shifting the power. And shifting the power begins with collaboration, begins with working together, and then building a relationship amongst ourselves. And therein, we can appropriately be in position to trust each other and favorably work together. But then also, I would like to invite colleagues who are here that are not part of MCLD and you're based in Kampala. You can please join us tomorrow for the watch party. I'll share my contact and email in the chat. You can reach out to me and you can join us tomorrow afternoon, and then we can celebrate together, then get to know each other and have more discussion on how best you can be in position to join MCLD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you for using the platform to market tomorrow's watch party. I'm sure it will be flooded. I saw, Prof, you had your hand up. We would really love to hear from you before we wrap it up. Over to you.
Yes, Steve. Thank you, Steve. And I really, have had a very, very good time. The point that I wanted to make is sometimes governments, whether it's national or county or subnational, they take a long time even to firm up the policies. So I was thinking that something maybe that you're already doing, that we need to get the communities to do their guidelines. so that we can begin to use those, and those then at some point can mature into national policy, subnational government policy, so that they have their rules of practice. And this is also part of empowering them to design even, how they do their work. That's the point that I wanted to make. But congratulations again, and thank you, John. Thank you, Veda. Thank you, everybody. This has been beautiful.
Thank you very much, Paul, for reminding us of that. I think we'll be sure to find ways to integrate those ideas moving forward. I think I'll also invite, like I mentioned, we have one of our friends and colleagues from Tanzania. His name is Evans, to just speak briefly in under a minute, and then we just conclude from there. Evans, if you can hear me, I know you were to do a session, but you had some network issues. Do you want to say hello?
Hi, Steve. Thank you very much for. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. No, I just want to thank the gathering, and a lot has been said, and I think that I was taking notes, and one thing has actually stuck with me. I don't know about everybody else. Professor Kibwana, when he was giving his keynote speech, said that development is most effective when done with the community and not for them. And when you glean from everything that has been said, having a devolution school, Kenya School of Devolution, the possibility of having that and being instituted in Kenya is something that really makes me think, how can we, and I actually had a few questions for Dr. Kibwana and Dr. Conrud and the national, associations. But I think that if it is allowed, I really needed to know, but I think that he has said, advice which Dr. Kibwana could actually give to MCLD that champions devolution and localization of SDGs. This is 10 years celebrations. And maybe this is a thought that we can take with us from this meeting and just think broadly about it. What is it that really needs to be done? But also thinking about Dr. John Conrod's keynote speech, it will be interesting to see how far this vision, which started as a thought, can go. But I also really like the fact that Joanna, in her sharing, and the other national associations really talked about how central the communities are within this landscape of seeking true development within our peoples. And I think that one of the things that I picked from Joanna's sharing is speculative futures, a model that actually seeks to hear from local communities and aligning with what Professor Kibwana said earlier, not doing for communities, but working with communities, and perhaps communities taking the lead. And this is the center of these celebrations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Evans. I think you very much wrapped it up for us and in a very powerful way. And I think in the MCLD tradition, we have an MCLD signature of finishing meetings. I'll just request us to kindly turn on our videos for those who are able to. I'll give you a few seconds to do that because I want to make sure that we see your smiles. So you will say, oh yes, before we do that, thank you, Sarah, for reminding us. Tomorrow, we have a global celebration from 4 to 6:30 p.m. East African time. and you are all invited. We have shared links across our mailing list. We are also inviting you to kindly visit our website. You can also visit our LinkedIn page at the Movement for Community-Led Development to learn more about tomorrow's event and see how you can be involved. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Sarah. And so we'll go back to the videos, and I will request us to just say bye in your local language, okay? If it is Spanish, if it is Swahili, say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Merci beaucoup, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Yes, bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Steve, you stay back.
Steve, well done.
Thank you.
Well done, well
Well
done.
done, well done, well done.
Well done, well done, well done, well done, well done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Branson.
Pascal, thank you for joining us. You
Yeah.
have not left us alone.
Thank you also
Thank
for
you.
this initiative.